Hey guys, my name is Emma and today I've got a book haul for you. So I recently went to America with my family. We spent Christmas in New York, which was super fun, and naturally I bought about a suitcase worth of books back with me. So I thought it'd be good fun to show you the books that I bought specifically in New York and where I got them from, and just kind of talk a little bit about some of the differences between American and UK book publishing, which I found really interesting when I was out there. So I bought 23 books when I was out in New York. I wasn't kidding when I said a suitcase full. Literally, we bought so much as a family we had to buy an entire new suitcase when we were out there to bring it back. And not like a pilly little one, like a suitcase. It was intense. So I figured the best way to run through all of these was just run through the different locations that I got them from and what I got in each shop. So I went to 4 different bookstores, and then one of these is also from an art gallery. The first collection that I bought was from Book Culture, which I don't know any of the addresses of any of these places, but I will try and link them down below. If you are in the New York area, I recommend that you check out all of these bookstores because I thought that they were all really awesome. The first book I bought is The Museum of Modern Love by Heather Rose. This is a book that is loosely based off of a real life performance piece by an artist, which was where she sat at a table where total strangers from the general public were allowed to come and sit opposite her for anywhere up to about 3 minutes, and neither would say a word, but it was just really a look at kind of emotional connections. Now this follows a male character, I think. Yep, Archie Levin, who is having a bit of a existential crisis about life and stumbles across this performance art piece, and it's what he takes from that experience. I'd heard about this performance art piece before. I think performance art can be very interesting, and this has been on my Goodreads want to read for I think about 6 months, so I was super psyched to finally see it actually physically in a bookstore and pick it up. It's also got the first thing that is noteworthy about American versus UK publishing as such is it has really rough, don't know how well you can see that, really rough pages, which are very flickable but are not cut very smoothly, which I've noticed on quite a lot of these books, which you just don't find in the UK. So that was a really interesting observation from book one. I also bought 3 books that were wrapped in brown paper when I was over there. I did try and film an unwrapping for you, but it just was not working in the hotel room. So the next 3 books were wrapped and they just said read me, and then it had on the front the list of 4 books that this was similar to. It's been an interesting thing unwrapping them. So book 1 that I bought, which was linked to Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, basically fantasy stuff, is Patrick Rothfuss is The Name of the Wind. This has been on my list of things to kind of read on my radar for quite a while. One of my friends recently was bigging it up and saying I totally had to get to it, so I'm really psyched that I now basically have a copy and an excuse to read it. It's like the universe knew what it was on about. Another thing that American books do is you have this freaky little cut off bit of the cover. Like, what is this? Why is this missing a ½ centimetre? And then there'd be like a secondary shiny bit in the beginning. Again, not something UK books do. Loads of these have it. I'm very confused, guys. What is going on with your books? Seriously. I don't really know much about it beyond high fantasy, so probably Man, Quest, Magic System, etc, etc. You know the gist. Another one that I picked up from the wrapped read by thing, which I think was linked to Station 11 maybe, or the Night Circus or something like that, is Deborah Harkness's A Discovery of Witches. This is book 1 from the All Souls trilogy. My mum is currently reading it. She's I think on book 2 and she says it's awesome. Has been made into a TV series. Again, been on my radar for a while. Something that I've been thinking about picking up. Now I have a copy. And I gotta say, I do really like this copy. This cover. It's funky. I don't know a crazy amount again about it. I think it's to do with a historian and there's witches and vampires maybe, and again we're talking very classic paranormal stuff. The final one from that wrap and the final one from the Book Culture shop is Libba Bray's A Great and Terrible Beauty, which is book 1 of the Gemma Doyle trilogy. I'm not crazy psyched about this. I've read one Libba Bray book in the past. It was called Beauty Queens and it was okay, interesting but not brilliant, and I've heard really mixed things of her, like reviews of hers before, and this is not one that people sing particularly highly about, so I'm not that fussed. But you know, it could be cool. It's a YA, should be quite light-hearted, boarding school, supernatural, shadowy groups, etc, etc. We're talking very classic YA magic here. So that was bookshop number 1. After that we went to, this wasn't all in one day by the way, this was spread across the 5 days that we were in New York. That would be insane. We went to Barnes & Noble's. Where's my Barnes & Noble stack? In Barnes & Noble's I picked up technically 7 books, but 4 of them are in a bundle, and let's cover that 4 first. By far the prettiest books, ooh, maybe not, Do have some pretty ones coming for you in a second. At least top 3 prettiest books is this collection of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Is this not one of the most gorgeous things you've ever seen? I've been thinking about reading Lord of the Rings for quite a while now. I've read The Hobbit. Technically I've listened to The Hobbit. I've listened to The Hobbit when I was a child. It was one of the audiobooks I listened to with my dad quite often when we were driving between his house and my mum's. So I would like to reread that, and I'd love to get to The Lord of the Rings. These are tiny. They are all leather bound. Got absolutely beautiful, but the font size is minuscule. Can you see that? Like, how tiny is that? So part of me thinks this could be quite difficult to read physically in this form, but I'm gonna give it a go, and if not, I'll just get ebooks of them to read. But they're just too pretty to not own on your shelf. They look like the kind of thing that an actual hobbit would own, which is adorable. Then we have finally found a copy of Joe Hill's 20th Century Ghosts. I have a whole video dedicated to Joe Hill and why I love him so much, and I said in that the only like collection of stories or like physical book rather than graphic novel that I didn't own or hadn't read was 20th Century Ghosts, and now I've got a copy, which is awesome because it's been proving surprisingly difficult to find in the UK. This is his first one. It's a collection of short stories. I'm keen because I love Joe Hill and it's really nice to kind of finish off the set. Then I picked up Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. This has been popping up on Instagram and Bookstagram for a while. It's a river and a girl appears and she is a mute, but there's something to do with magic. There's a lot of magical realism in this entire book haul. That was really a vibe I was going for. Something I love, and I think in the winter months I get a bit more in that mood. It's everything I've heard about this has sung its praises, and again it was the first time I've physically seen it, so I thought I'd grab it. Then I actually slightly screwed up and bought a book that it turns out is not the book that I thought it was. So I have here Christine Hanna's The Nightingale, which I thought was on my Goodreads want to read, but it turns out it's actually a book just called Nightingale by somebody else, which I will link down below, which was the one that I wanted to read more. Now I have heard really positive things about this. I think this was also on my want to reads for a while as well, and I might have taken it off because I wasn't too sure. It's a historical fiction about two sisters set in the Second World War. I've heard good things now having looked it up since buying it, but I was actually aiming to buy Nightingale, not The Nightingale, so I feel a little bit foolish for this one and I'm mildly frustrated, but who knows, maybe this could be a sign from the gods that this could be awesome. Then I think the next bookstore we went to was technically the one in the gift shop at the Guggenheim. So I picked up Judith Mackerel's The Unfinished Palazzo. So this is about the building which houses the Guggenheim collection in Venice and the 3 women who have owned it in the past. So for those of you who don't know, Peggy Guggenheim is, or was, I think she's dead now, a art collector who has sponsored and supported numerous artists over the years, and she has the Guggenheim in New York, which we did go and see, which the building is awesome, and then she also has her collection in Venice, which I've been to twice. And this book in particular focuses on that building in Venice and the 2 women who owned it before her. So before she owned it, there was a staggeringly wealthy woman who apparently made herself a living work of art, and a notorious British socialite who hosted glittering parties, and then the American heiress Peggy Guggenheim owned it, and amassed her collection of modern art. I thought it'd be really interesting to check out the building, and in doing so learn about not just Peggy but also the other women, and I think that this will be really good fun to read at some point, and it was nice to chuck in a non-fiction in there. Both buildings are gorgeous, by the way, so if you ever find yourself in either New York or Venice, definitely check them out if you find yourself there. My brother and I stopped off at Book Off. Now Book Off is a place that is a little bit like Forbidden Planet as well. It had like Funko Pops and anime and manga and all sorts of other figurines and things. There was a lot of stuff written in Japanese, but they also had a really big graphic novel selection, and they were doing a sale. American prices for graphic novels are amazing. Like, you have no idea how expensive it is trying to read these things in the UK. So I'm going to give you an example. Like, I bought quite a large range of graphic novels, as you're going to see here, and most of these came out at like $10 or less. I pretty much didn't touch it if it's any more than that. In the UK, you're looking at a minimum of £18 a graphic novel, minimum. Like, some of them run to even more expensive than that. I just can't believe it. So with that in mind, I picked up Miss Marvel Volume 1. There's gonna be a lot of Volume 1s because I'm using this as an opportunity to check out a bunch more series and see which ones I want to go for. So that way, if they aren't very good, I've only spent a little bit on it. This is a Marvel one. I think a lot of people know about it. Then I picked up, because it was so flippin' cheap, volume 1 and volume 2 of Chew. This one, I can't remember who recommended this to me, but it popped up on BookTube somewhere, and it is, I think, similar to iZombie, and the detective in it can get memories from the flesh of people, so he basically becomes a cannibal to solve their cases. It sounds awesome, it looks really freaky, and the artwork is very like sepia toned and quite sketchy, and it just looks wicked. So I'm super psyched about all those. Saving the best for last, the final bookstore that I went to was the Strand, or just Strand Bookstore, which was down on East 12th. Look at me knowing things. This was one that we weren't too sure we were going to get time to. It was literally the last place that we went, and it was super awesome. We're talking like 4 floors. They boast 18 miles worth of books if you literally were to walk the entire way around. We're talking like books all the way up to the ceiling. You have to use ladders to get to them. It's just the coolest place ever. So let's run through what I picked up there. I grabbed 3 more graphic novels. Let's run through the graphic novels first. I grabbed Monstrous Volume 1. I know nothing, but the artwork looks cool. Paper Girls Volume 1. Again, I know nothing, but the artwork looks cool. And Lazarus Volume 1. Again, I know nothing, but the artwork looks cool. Noticed a trend there. Then, whilst I was in America, I was watching a video from Harriet Rose, who had listed some of her like pretty classics that she owned, her like most pretty classic editions. And she talked about an American publisher who do the Knickerbocker classics, which look like this. They're a bitch to find in the UK, they're very expensive over here, but they seem to be a little bit easier to find in America, so I did pick up 2. I got The Time Machine and The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, and I also got Emma by Jane Austen. I am trying to read more classics. I don't know if I will have already posted my classics TBR by the time you're seeing this, but if not, it will be coming really soon, and I am trying to read at least 20 classics books this year, so I figured owning pretty copies makes me more likely to actually do it. Then I bought 3 more books, and these are the last 3 that I'm going to be talking about. I got Ken Liu's The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories. I have somewhere on my shelves The Grace of Kings, which is book 1 in his series, which is more Native American culture, kind of Game of Thronesy, I think. This one is just a collection of short stories. I've read the first one. It was really fun. It was about how different alien races view the concept of reading. I really like his writing style, and I am trying to read more short story collections as well, although I don't have a specific number or goal in mind for that, so I thought that this would help. Then I managed to find, which I'm super happy about, A Wild Ride Through the Night by Walter Moers. Now, Walter Moers wrote The 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Blueberry novel, which is one of my all-time favourite books ever. Such a good book. But I haven't read any more of his, and it's a travesty and I need to fix it. But again, they're difficult to come across in the UK, whereas apparently in America you guys like him a little bit more. So this is not actually part of his Zamonia world, which Captain 13 that one is book 1 of. This is an entirely separate one. I think it might even be a children's book or potentially YA, and it is about a little boy who meets death. And I think it's going to be beautiful, and it also has some gorgeous illustrations in it. There we go. Like, how pretty is that? So I'm really keen to get to that one soon. And then the final book that I have, which I have actually read and is so good, you are definitely going to be seeing it on like some top favourite lists fairly soon, is The Golem and the Genie by Helen Wecker. This just, I finished it this morning. I was so pleased I finished it in time to make it for the 2018 lists of stuff. Oh my god. Like, it's beautiful. It tells the story of a misplaced golem and a misplaced genie who are trying to survive in New York in the late 1800s. This was my book haul, a very extensive book haul, was a bitch to bring back to the UK, and now pretty much on a book buying ban until I've read more, because if you saw my 2019 videos goals video, you will know that I have a crediting system. Currently my credit stands at 0, so no more books for Emma until she's read a few more. I hope you have a wonderful reading week. Do you know of any of these? Have you read them before? Etc, etc. All the questions, all of the inquiries, just talk to me guys in the comments. You know I love it. And have a wonderful, I've already said that. Also shout out to my sister Vicky, who is probably watching. Right, bye guys.